So we are with Achim Steiner from UNEP. You launched today the call 7 billion dreams, a call to people. How important is a global awareness of the people to solve these big problems that we have?
Well, without public awareness, nothing changes, and we leave the big decisions about the future of our planet, of our societies, to just a few people. They may be political leaders or economic leaders. First of all, public awareness is about empowerment. Once we understand what is happening to our planet, and more importantly, that it doesn't have to be like this, then change begins. And that is why we are trying at this World Environment Day to, one, make people realize we all have dreams about access to energy, about mobility, about safety, food, education for our children. But on this planet, the way we are practicing our economic activity today, many more people will never have that choice in the future. From here, we can begin to talk about solutions and about options for doing things differently.
Sure. And what should happen not to leave these things just as dreams? So should be governments or people or companies to take the lead?
I think the first thing is to realize that unless we as citizens, each one of us, first of all, takes responsibility to change things. Secondly, whether by voting, whether by what we buy or what we throw away, we all become part of the 7 billion. So we can dream, but we must dream with some responsibility to also ensure that things change. Now, governments are important, public policy is important. We vote in our elections to have parliaments that protect us, for example, from pollution or from wasteful societies. But at the same time, we must also get industry, entrepreneurs and consumers to think differently. You know, we often talk about conserving water. Few people realize that in one hamburger, we have embodied the use of 2,400 liters of water. Now, I'm not saying stop eating hamburgers, but I'm saying if you want to contribute to conserving water, maybe you don't have to eat meat every week. And the logic goes on: resource efficiency, renewable energy, different forms of mobility. I this morning drove to this expo in 2 different electric vehicles, a Tesla vehicle, which is an international product on the world market, and a new cutting-edge development of converting a Panda, a Fiat Panda, by local industry and workshops here into an electric vehicle. These are the options for the future that we must all embrace.
Kyoto Protocol was an initiative to fight climate change. Do you think it's a good way to fight that? Is anything changing? What can we expect from the next COP in Paris?
If you think back in history where the Kyoto Protocol emerged, it was a vital stepping stone, because the world, remember, 25 years ago did not know what global warming was, did not believe that it was a big problem. When the Kyoto Protocol was being negotiated, emissions were of carbon dioxide at 300 parts per million. This is a unit by which we measure emissions in the atmosphere. Today they have reached 400 parts per million. So clearly the Kyoto Protocol was not enough. But without it, we might still be in the Stone Age of talking about what we need to do. The fact is that this year we can look back on the year 2014 and say that almost 50% of all new electricity generating infrastructure that was built last year in the whole world was actually renewable: solar, wind and geothermal. That is also a result of the Kyoto Protocol changing our understanding of what we can do. So it has not been enough. We need to replace it in Paris this December with a much more ambitious agreement, but it was a vital stepping stone on the journey to a world learning to deal with climate change and change its economy.
Sustainability sometimes is not seen as, and environmental problems are not seen as something close to migration of people. Do you think the society has really understood the link between the two things?
Look, if you just look at the evening news that we watch nowadays, we have 3 drivers that are essentially causing people to leave the places where they live. One is just conflict, war, that drives people away. A second is no economic opportunity, and the third one, which is growing very rapidly, is natural disasters, extreme weather events, the things that literally in one night or in 5 hours of an extreme rainfall, through floods, or over months through droughts, can destroy your livelihood. That kind of environmentally driven necessity to move, to go somewhere else, to be able to survive, to feed your family, to educate your children, to have a vision of an economic opportunity, is going to drive more and more people. We have had just in the last few years extraordinary events of, Thailand flooded, Pakistan flooded, but also in Europe floods, in Africa, now in Chile, droughts and floods at the same time, in California. The pattern of extreme weather events is going to disrupt our economies, our societies, our food security, our energy systems. This is the spectrum against which we must understand that people in the end have to survive, and if they cannot survive anymore where they live, they will try and go somewhere else. Now, not every refugee today is fleeing because of an environmental set of changing circumstances, but will the numbers increase? Dramatically, if we do not succeed in stabilizing our climate and maintaining our ecosystems in such a way that we can still live where we often have lived for thousands of years.